David Thomson. Welcome to Tasty Humans. Powered by what's on here at Media One Hotel, Dubai's best business, lifestyle, and entertainment property. Unless it's the first group, do you know what I mean? So it's, no, I'm just kidding. Look, we've tried to do this 3 or 4 times now. I mean, genuinely, I think you were waiting for Man United to put together a run of decent results because you'll know I'll go in on you. But that's not happening, so...
No, we could be doing this for several years, actually, or waiting to do this for several years at this rate.
We could do a reoccurring episodes.
Yeah.
Let's see how you're doing. I wanted to ask, so, let's all jump straight in because you're an incredibly seasoned professional, senior vice president now of the first group. And at the time that we're recording this, Man United have just ended the tenure, very short tenure, of Jim Brailsford. I think that's how I pronounce the name, correct?
That's right. Yeah.
And I did want to ask, I've always thought that football clubs and football teams are a really good reference point for corporate management, because it possesses all of the, you have a team, you have a manager, you have directors, you have lots of politics and voices and commercial deals and everything like this. Sort of, do you see a correlation there, and sort of how does this sort of fit into your role as a senior vice president now?
Well, I think the problem is when you get all these people in elevated status, they lose touch with what it's all about, what the game's all about, what the fans are all about, and what people actually want. And I think there's a real, when you, as I say, senior vice president, but I'd like to still think that, I'm very much hands-on with not with the operation, but just with the company and what we believe and the culture that we're trying to create and everything else. So going forward, I think that's actually where, Indians have gone wrong. I think they've come in and they just thought this was another sort of business deal, and they've had a bit of success in other sports, so they thought that they could do this with football and with United, and that's just isn't the case, clearly, and I think, whereas the Glazers, we all dislike the Glazers for being, money grabbing and using United as a financial tool. I think, what you see with these guys is almost worse because they think they know what they're doing and well, proof of the pudding suggests they're not. They don't, But let's see what happens next. I mean,
one thing I would say is that everyone thought that Todd Boehly coming into Chelsea was, especially myself, was out the frying pan into the fire. But early signs, it looks like something was actually, there was actually a strategy there that now the right managers with the right team seems to be resonating. And so how would you then describe how you try to stay in touch with the operation, sort of up on what I'd sort of refer to as the super seniors? Do you know what I mean?
You're referring to my age now, right?
No, I'm referring to your title. There you go. No, I mean, the thing is, people say senior management, in the world of F&B, is that a general manager, once you get into operations, then director of operations, then managing director, et cetera, and I think that a senior vice president, how do you stay, like I say, like almost in touch with the coalface, as some people like?
Yeah, I mean, the titles are great things, aren't they? But I think it's really, at the end of the day, my role actually now is to go out and bring in new business development, find new hotels and owners who have hotels that they actually, need somebody to come in and run on their behalf. So basically setting up franchise agreements with us as third-party managers. So from that point of view, I'm sort of away from the operations and away from the sort of commercial side of the business to some extent, but obviously trying to grow the brand and, grow the first collection, grow the first group hospitality. And, so that sort of view, you have to be involved in the day-to-day as well, because you've got to know, you've got to understand and be able to transmit to other people how well we're doing as a company and how well we're doing as a hotel operator. And to do that, you actually need to, be involved in the day-to-day as well. So look, I think we're small enough as a company, even though we've got these fantastic titles, we're small enough as a company to still be very much in touch with what we're doing at a grassroots level as well as what we want to do in our aspirations for greater things. So.
And how many properties do you have now?
Right, so we're running 9 properties at the moment, which is great, including one in Jeddah, which we opened last May. And of course, we've got 3 more about to open, including, obviously, 1st of September, the world's tallest hotel.
And it's still the world's tallest hotel.
It is still the world's tallest hotel, yeah. So, and we're going to have the world's highest infinity pool. So all these are going to be in the Guinness Book of Records. So it's all very exciting.
See, I have a question, and you don't have to answer it. You know what I mean? But when I was at TFG, when I was at the first group back in, I think it was 2019, 2020, this sort of time. This was when the Seal Tower first got conceived.
That's right.
You know, and I heard once that there was like this quick sort of flare up rumor that it wasn't actually the tallest. And they had to kind of stick a couple more meters on the top, literally. Like they just is that true, or was there ever a moment where they went, hang on a minute, this isn't the tallest? You know what I mean?
Well, I don't know. I mean, the design. I don't think the design's changed. So whether they had to sort of jack it up a few feet, I don't know. But I mean, I think at 385 meters, I think it's fairly comfortably the tallest at the moment by about 10 meters or something like that.
All right, fair enough.
Not exactly sure, but yeah, whether they had to add anything on to make it that way, I don't know. But certainly, when you look at the design, I mean, you know, it's this amazingly pencil thin building, you know, with the sort of eye at the needle at the top, which is obviously where
it looks fantastic.
Yeah, and we're very excited about it. It's going to be a great.
And how many keys is it?
It's 1,000.
1,000
exactly.
keys. How many F&B outlets are going to go in it as well?
Well, we're going to have 7 F&B outlets, of which we'll be operating 5, and then we have, 6, I should say, and then 1, which is a new concept that's coming in, which is going to spread over 3 floors, which is going to be very, very, very sexy, actually. We're looking forward to that a lot.
You look very excited about this.
Yeah,
I got to be honest.
You know,
I can see there's like this look on your face when you talk about it of a real sense of achievement.
100%. I think this, you know, for a company, you know, for the first group to actually build something like, you know, this is an iconic building, you know, which is a global first. So it's really fantastic, and I think, you know, the way it's been designed as well really makes it something special. So
yeah, well, it's I remember, you know, we all drive past it quite a lot, and it is remarkably thin. And God, no, in a good way.
It is.
In a way where, because again, the one thing that I've always loved about Dubai, and I definitely respect about some of the properties the first group have built, along with the one over in JVC as well, where you look at it and you go, okay, that's a nice design. Where I think, what floor is it where the one section's cut out, and then you go all the way up to the 30th floor, and the next section's been cut out. So when you actually look at that as a build, you're like, that's actually very, very clever. And so you do some really, really good stuff. And you look at the Seal Tower, and I sort of how deep the foundations must be in order to get that sort of very small circular building in place. It's going to be pretty iconic, to be honest with you. And I'm not just saying that because you sat here. You know?
No, I think it is. Look, I mean, there is a plinth, but again, I mean, you know, it really does occupy a really small footprint, and it's an amazing bit of architecture, and it's actually the same architects that actually did JVC. Okay. So the first collection of JVC. So yeah, and that's just been featured in this Hotels by Design, which is a program in America by CBS Television.
That you're on, right.
which I have a few moments on. Yeah.
And how did that go? How did that come about?
Well, that came about because you know, the people we use for our amenities, you know, so we have what is called 0% in our amenities, because, you know, we love sustainability, and and we genuinely do. I mean, it's something that is part of our culture for sure. And so they actually put us in touch. So it's Gilchrist and Soames. So they put us in touch with the Hotels by Design, because I think they sponsor the show in America, and these guys said, well, you know, let's come and look at something different and outside the States. So hence they turned up and did the show here. And then, of course, they had a look at CL as well, and they were very excited about that. So I think they'll be back to do that. What was it like being
a presenter or a key figure in a television show? As in, what's it like to, you know, you go around doing your job every day, and suddenly you're now portraying the role of you know, for television purposes, you know, where they're going to be directing you almost. Did you find it natural, or?
Well, it was a bit weird, but I mean, the guy, the actual director, who was also the presenter, he was very cool. I mean, so, you know, he would just start talking to you, and the guy with the camera was fairly unobtrusive. But I mean, we did the first bit at Saluna Beach Club outside, and I mean, it was October, and at the beginning of October, as everyone who lives in Dubai will know, the beginning of October was extremely sweaty. And so, you know, so I kept walking around there going,
terrible time to be outside.
I think you need to change your shirt and do that again. So I'm like, okay. But after a while, it just got to the point where we kind of have to just shoot one of these because we're running out of shirts. So you know,
How many shirts did you go through?
I think about 4, but yeah. So you know, I ended up with this borrowing a shirt off somebody for what was actually became the final shoot. But yeah, but it was good fun doing it, and they were great. And you know, obviously the show hasn't come out yet, but we'll see that soon. So that's gonna be fun.
So how do you go about selecting hotel partners? Because, and stop me if I'm wrong, First Group, you know, gets a piece of land, designs a hotel, then is asking investors to buy rooms, and if I'm wrong, tell me I'm wrong, and then you bring in the hotel partner, and it kind of works in that sense.
That's right? So
it sounds very loose on my behalf.
Well, no, that's about right. So,
Okay,
so the portfolio to date has, with the exception of the one in Jeddah, is where we have built hotels, and then people have been individual investors have actually purchased a hotel room. So as part of a long-term investment. So you're basically buying into a business. And so what happens is the net operating profit from the rooms then gets redistributed to all the investors. So, and it's done on a rata basis, but you know, which is reasonably not that complicated, but essentially so it's a pool, so everybody gets something, you know. So and it's been incredibly successful, and we've got owners who've got multiple properties and continue to buy more properties from us because we've done so well. So you know, that model continues, and we've got a couple of properties which are actually which are greenfield sites which we've broken ground on. So they'll be coming up in the next couple of years, obviously. But as I say, you know, what we're doing now is we're looking outside our own portfolio and our company properties, and offering our services to owners, you know, as white label, third party management. So
that managed contracts.
Yeah, so working with the likes of Marriott, Hilton, IHG. Obviously, we work with Wyndham already and Ascot. So so we're very excited about that. That's you know, and they've endorsed us and said, look, you know, we're very happy for you to represent us. So. And so it's an exciting time.
So the future's bright.
Very. Yeah,
Good.
no. I have a small target of 40 hotels. I think it's by the end of 2027 or something. But
and how many have you got now?
At the moment, there's going to a few more unannounced, so we'll have about 17.
Okay.
So
23 to go.
Just 23 to
23 to go in. Wow, 2 years.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah.
No, listen, I think we're set up for success. Yes.
Yeah.
But we are set up for success. We've got a great team of people, so we're looking forward to that.
So the future's bright. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So now the past. You know what I mean?
The dark past.
Oh, is there a dark past?
No,
Okay,
sorry, I shouldn't have said that, actually. No, skip, cut.
So I can't cut it. You know what I mean? But you don't have to explain it, because
thank you very much.
you're not forced to talk about anything you don't want to. You know what I mean? But we'll do that afterwards off camera.
Right.
But essentially, as I like to sort of get to with Tasty Humans is, where did all this begin for you? And what sort of made you go, yeah, you know, hotels, hospitality? Like, where did it start?
Well, actually, it started, I'd have to say, I mean, really, when back I was 18, I started working in pubs and you know, and then restaurants and what have you. So I got a taste for it then, and I ended up running.
If you don't mind me asking, when were you 18? Just so if anyone watching gets
in 78.
Wow.
Yeah. That's what
you look good.
Thank you very much.
You look good. I would not have thought that.
A long time ago.
Wow.
Yeah. So this was in Scotland. So I started working in pubs and clubs in Scotland, basically. Yeah. So, and then basically after, so I was at university, stayed on in Scotland for a couple of years after that. I started working in advertising. So so I ended up going out over to Doha. And there I was working for a sort of a trading company, you know, so who sort of rented property, did home pack furniture, all this sort of thing. And I was their sales and marketing person, putting advertising together. I'd actually started in London, on the streets of London, doing. When I left Scotland and went down to London, I actually was doing trying to sell life insurance to people coming off trains.
Okay.
So that was an interesting job, and you got quite tough doing that. And then eventually I was doing the whole housing.
How did that work?
You're literally I'm just accosting people saying, you know, do you live or work in London, which seemed like an obvious question, and then trying to get their telephone numbers off them. And so, you know, you'll be sort of backing up as they were walking, and it was amazing how many people, just to get rid of you, would give you a number. Now, the idea was you didn't leave the station till you had 100 numbers in your hand, because then you knew out of that you might get one or two actual face-to-face meetings from that. So, you know, it was knowing your strike rate. It's the whole sales sort of pitch.
Yeah.
But then sort of ended up doing that by, you know, literally knocking on doors in housing estates and putting my foot through the door when they try to shut it on you. So that was an interesting baptism of, because after working in the pubs and clubs of Scotland, trying to find something to do in London, you know, having moved down south. So it was a tough few years. But it was also a really great grounding in selling, you know. So and I used to have to get on the phone call. So after you've just come off the station, you know, you're pretty wiped out after you've been abused, and you can imagine the sort of things that are being said to you as you're trying to get telephone numbers, right?
Yeah.
So then the next thing I'm doing, I don't know if you remember a decathlete called David Thomson.
Of course.
Right. So I would get on the phone. And I would, you know, say, "Oh, this is David Thomson speaking." They go, "David Thomson?" And I go, "No, sorry, you misheard me." But it broke the ice, and immediately. Okay. So then I had a lot more success on the phone doing that. So as I say, sold life insurance for a couple of years in London. Had a friend actually in Doha, so went out there and then got into advertising out there, and then basically was looking for an agency, because what we were trying to do in Doha there was nobody really capable of doing it. So went over to Bahrain and ended up working for Gulf Advertising. Well, okay. I brought them over to Doha, but then they offered me a job working for them, handled the Unilever account, which bizarrely in those days was based out of Bristol in the UK. So they said, "Why don't you come back and work for us in the UK?" So I did. Did that for a couple of years, and then they decided they were moving lock, stock and barrel to Dubai. So they said, "Right, we're going back to the Middle East. Why don't you come with us?" So that's what I did. I worked for Gulf Advertising again here in the Middle East. So.
And that was when? Which year did you come to Dubai?
Came back in 1990.
Okay.
And I've been here literally a couple of months when we pitched for the Hilton account. And we didn't get the account, but they then offered me the job as sales and marketing for the region. So that's how I got into the hotel industry. Been in it ever since. So there you are.
And then how did you transition up through the hotel industry, coming in sales and marketing?
Yeah, so it was really it was when I worked for a guy called Gerhard Hardig, who was sort of kind of my mentor in the industry, and he left Hilton. I stayed on with the Hilton for a while, and then basically what happened was he was taken on board by Dhaka Hotels, which became JA Hotels and Resorts.
Okay.
And what happened there was he came in as the I think he joined them in May 2000 and 2001 9/11.
Okay.
So then he said, "Look, you know, I need somebody to come in and set the sales and marketing up there." So I joined them, and I think I was supposed to start on the 13th of September. So and of course 9th of September happened. So I phoned him up on the 11th and said, "Doesn't look like I've got a job anymore." He said, "No, on the contrary, we need all the help we can get." I think hotels in Dubai went down to about 20% for a couple of weeks, and then typical of Dubai, by the February the next year, we were literally sold out everywhere, you know. So we set up this thing called the Taste of Dubai, where we invited everybody from literally travel agents from around the world to come back to Dubai and see how fantastic life in Dubai was, and it was hugely successful. And
so you set up Taste of Dubai?
No,
it
was called Taste of Dubai, not the Taste of Dubai you're thinking of.
Okay.
No, this was a collaboration with the DTCM. I think Arabian Adventures, Jumeirah, so we sort of put this thing together where people were invited to come, travel agents were invited from all over the world to come and see how wonderful Dubai was. And as a net result of that, by February the next year, the hotels were literally full.
Because this region must have taken a bit of a hit, sort of reputation-wise, around that 2001 time. It's not really something to get into, I'm sure, like on a podcast.
No, but actually, you know what? I mean, so in some respects it did, but I think the response of Dubai, as always, was just, you know, so positive. You know, get people in, let's let them see how fabulous this place is, and it worked, you know. And I think this has been Dubai's, you know. When the world takes a hit, Dubai takes a bit of a hit, but it bounces back far faster than anyone else. I've been here nearly 35 years now,
Well,
And
COVID was a great example of that.
oh, fantastic! I mean, you know,
Regardless of all the things that went down for the hospitality industry in that period, but I am so grateful to have, I suppose what you could say, done COVID here in Dubai.
oh, than anywhere else, right?
Because it was an example of, with the greatest respect, do as you're told, which we all did.
Yeah.
And we'll get through this very quickly, which we did. And yes, of course, it was very tough, and the hospitality sector took a massive hit. But the way that everybody kind of mobilized the social distancing, moving the tables apart, getting it open as quickly as possible. And of course, I'm following Sky News in the UK and everything like this. And one of the things I just thought was just so counterproductive was actually sort of take a sort of political turn, but like the way that you saw a democracy almost defeat itself with a leader coming out and saying, this is what you have to do in a time where everyone is very, very afraid. It's simply because they just don't understand or know what's going on. As long as we've been through that before, so we have prior experiences to draw on. And then as soon as they say it, out comes the opposition and goes, well, I kind of agree, but this is what we should be doing. Here, it's one message, one thing,
that's fantastic.
Go do it. And whether or not we were afraid or not, which we were, it was just, this is what we're doing. And we all just went, okay, we're doing it. And then 6 months later, I think it was 2 or 3 months afterwards, we could open restaurants again. We could start doing sort of little staycations, and we had 2 great summers where nobody went away because you couldn't, but it was great for business. And I do look at it, and I just think it was. I also, the last thing I'll say is, I love the moment where they would tell us on the news, cases, deaths, but recoveries. And they would end, and this is what Dubai does, ends on a high. You know what I mean? It's always telling you, like, it's positive. There's a good side to this. So, yeah.
But this is, that's the beauty of Dubai, isn't it? Or the UAE in general, this consistent, excellent leadership, which just goes on year after year. Sheikh Rashid was still alive when I first arrived here. And then obviously transitioning into Sheikh Mohammed now, and his son in the future. And it's just, really, that's what makes this work. When you're running the country for the benefit of everyone in it, rather than you've got 4 years or 5 years in politics and all you're trying to do is get a vote. So you're not taking the tough decisions because they're not popular, and at the same time you don't care about the long-term future of the country because you've only got 5 years. And what a difference it makes having the system we have here. It's fantastic.
Yeah, 100%. So you're in JA, and one thing I wanted to ask is that, and I love getting into strategic management kind of conversations, which is you're in there for 16 years, correct?
That's right, yeah.
And, that is a long time to be in, because this industry, people have a tendency to move around. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
And to do 16 years, it's like, what kept you there? What do you think would? I think the question I wanted to ask is, what do you take from what they did to get that level of loyalty out of you specifically, and how do you take that forwards maybe into TFG? Like, what was it about JA where you just felt so comfortable?
Yeah, I think. Look, that's a really good question. I think I was very fortunate to be, involved in the sort of development of JA, from what was Duck Hotels, which was, just 3 properties, and then see that develop over the years. And, it was the actual, really enjoyed what we did, the development side of it. And, we had some great people. Great, and it's all about people. Look, our industry is totally about people, right? Care and be curious, as far as I'm concerned. As long as you have those 2 things, going on for you, then I think you're going to be successful in this business. And we just had some lovely people, and I think our recruitment policy was always around the fact that we wanted to bring people. We had this thing called heartfelt hospitality, and and we genuinely believed in that. That was something that sort of ran everything we did and the decisions we made. And I think that really reflected in the sort of people we hired, and therefore, we had this great camaraderie as a team. I've got to say the owners were fantastic. We're, the backers and the sellers are lovely people, and we had a really close relationship with them, which always helps. And it was always for the good of the company and the good of the people in it. It wasn't just about the bottom line. It was also about developing people, and so. I was lucky that a lot of opportunities came my way during the period that I was there. So sort of started off as Director of Sales and Marketing and ended up as Chief Operating Officer for the last 5 years I was there. And we sort of went into the Maldives, and we went into Seychelles, and obviously we added other properties here, and we had this whole, we built the Centre of Excellence, which we did with Viv Anderson and Tony Woodcock. Right?
Yeah.
So these two guys got involved, and we sort of had built 4 football pitches and set up rugby pitches and all the rest of it, and great, which drove huge amounts of business. We had so many Premier League teams and Scottish Premier League teams coming to stay with us. So yeah, it was excellent. So yeah, it was a very, very good environment. Lovely properties, of course.
Yeah.
And then I think we've tried to replicate that and done that successfully with setting up. So I joined the first group in 2018. With a view to setting up this hotel management company. And so, we've tried to, or I've tried to, we as a company have tried to sort of replicate that and bring in people who, share that sort of shared vision of caring about people. That old adage that it's better the employ for attitude because you can train everything else, right?
Yeah.
And I think that really works. And I think we have some fabulous people in the first group. We got quite a few from JA actually, but that mirror that sort of feeling and that sort of heartfelt hospitality. And I think if you look at our properties today, even though they're predominantly city, we're all city properties, we still have that sort of attitude where we're trying to make a difference to the people that stay with us. And they've got so people who come to stay with us mainly are leisure guests actually, although we're moving more into corporate now, but they leave feeling that they've been seen and taken care of and looked after, and that's reflected in some of the amazing sort of scores that we get in both TripAdvisor and Google and Booking.com and what have you. So our GSS scores are really high, and I think it's that ethos that we've just sort of taken through to the company. It's good.
And how did you develop this heartfelt hospitality?
Oh, it was a team effort, really. We said, because no, actually, what we did is
it's me.
Yes, of course. Yes, well, I sat there one morning and said, no, what we actually, at great expense, we invited a company to come in from the UK, whose name escapes me right now, but they were fairly well known at the time and very expensive. And they came over and basically interviewed everybody and interviewed our clients and interviewed the managers and everyone that worked for us and the owners and everybody. And then they turned around and said, well, look, this is what, what encapsulates you guys is hospitality. So we sort of took that on and that's what became the sort of ethos of the company. They didn't want that to be our sort of buzzword. They wanted us to say something else far more, I don't know, clever.
Okay.
But we just felt that heartfelt hospitality, they'd hit the nail on the head when they said heartfelt hospitality, so we ran with that.
Well, the simple message is usually the best one,
Yeah, exactly.
Because then everyone can remember it,
Well, yeah.
But how did that sort of translate then? Like, what would you say is like key points towards? And I tell you what, I say because again, very successful. JA is fantastic. I know quite a few people there, and you do get a lot of hotel companies, restaurants, Planet Hollywood, I was there for a long time, to Make a Difference, things like this. And sometimes people have these buzzwords and it doesn't resonate. It's just a thing. It's like, so what were your sort of key strategies around making sure that, I don't know, sort of the waiters, the front line, really understood getting that message across to
100%. Yeah. No, I mean, look, I think there's a great phrase in hospitality that, no one cares how much you know until they know how much you care. And, that...
I like that, yeah.
Yeah, I heard that somewhere once upon a time, and I just thought... I loved it, yeah.
Yeah.
It really resonated with me, and I think it resonates with most people when they hear that. So, and that was what we tried to instill in people, in the whole team, was basically, care and be curious. If I care about you and I'm curious about you, I'm going to start talking to you. So I see you, right? So I start asking you questions about who you are and where you're from. And that is, really, I think that it's that engagement. Then people, really allows them to sort of just open up and start talking to people. And look, we know especially when you're on the leisure side of the business, people turn up. They've got, they're bringing with them all their baggage, right? All their emotional and psychological baggage that's been building up. They're on this holiday, and we know that the first thing they want to do is find something they can kick off about, right? So. Because a lot of people are like that. It's true. Some people come. No, but it's true.
The point is, I think you have just confirmed, so any kind of, let's say, hotel manager or hotel that hopefully will watch this. I think you've just confirmed what we all feel.
Yeah, no, but that's the point. But you've also got to realise that's just
that's what they're doing.
That's what they're doing.
It's the escapism.
So you've got to suck that up. And you've got to be able to turn that back around, right? And that's the most important thing, because you're creating memories. So at the end of the day, everybody remembers their hotel trips, regardless of whether they're on business or you remember. And so, it's so really important to allow them to sort of just unload and then, say, right.
Well, because they've been on a plane.
Apart from anything else.
I've said this to a lot of people, which is put yourself in the mindset of the guest at that moment. Like when they come through the door with their luggage, if they've, say, got children with them, just have a little think about what the last 10 hours of their life have been like.
Exactly.
Unless they've been in first class, being pampered left, right and centre, which very few people have. And if you're doing your major roles of business in 4-star hotel markets, you're not going to meet these people. The people coming to your reception counter have had a hell of a time organising themselves, waiting for the flight, being on the flight, and all the things that go with that. The first thing they need when they come, I suppose, to reception, I don't know, I don't do front office, but
right.
I'd probably install, "Hi, welcome to Media One. Do you need a hug?"
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just go like that. See how many people go, "Oh, thank you."
Yeah, no, and that's it. It's a metaphorical hug, really. You've got to give these people, for 100% right. And so that's, I think, and as long as I say, as long as you care and you're curious, then you're going to deal with, you're going to do that. And one of the things we used to do was have, the name badge, but they also used to, I say, put one thing on there about yourself. That, like, I love cricket, or whatever it is that can be a conversation starter. So that, and it also gives people the opportunity to have a good look at your name badge, right? Because people try to glance at your name badge because they don't want to be over obvious, but they want to use your name. So if you give them a chance to turn around and have a really good look at it, then they'll remember who you are as well, and that you like cricket or whatever it happens to be. So I think these sort of things. I mean, these are tools that have been used by other people. They weren't invented by me, for sure. But I just think they're really effective at making sure that people connect with the people they work with.
Was it difficult? Because so you come out of marketing and advertising, you end up COO. Was it? How did you find that transition of now having to learn about rooms and revenue management and the segmentation and all these things that I sound like I know what I'm talking about, but I actually don't. You know what I mean? But was it sort of, because I think the thing in the hospitality, it's like Mark Lee, who's here. He's ex F&B that runs a hotel,
right.
And I always subscribe to the notion it's easier to teach F&B people to run a hotel than a hotelier to run independent F&B.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with that.
But was it difficult for you to understand it? Did you take to it well, or how long did it take for you to truly understand running hotels, which are, they're animals,
Yeah, no, well, I was very fortunate. I had some very good people around me. So, there's a guy called Frederick Reinich who sort of moved from, when I was moving, went into the resort for the first time to run the resort, Jebel Golf Resort as it was at the time. And then, Frederick had been an ops guy for a long time, so he sort of came in as my number two. So he sort of kind of carried it. He did a bit of the heavy lifting, while I sort of found out what end for a buffet from the other end, and all this sort of thing. But also in doing, I think, as a sales and marketer, it's essential that you actually understand an operation. You can't really sell a hotel, because what ends up happening is that you put too much, you're either not feeding the right areas of the property, or you're putting them under too much pressure, or so if you don't understand an operation, then you can't really do your job as a sales and marketer, in my opinion, properly. So I think it's a really important thing that you do that. And I was very fortunate. I had general managers and company executives and all the rest of it who were very keen for me to be able to understand that. So it wasn't. I wasn't a stranger to the operation when I started doing that. And the other thing that Hilton were really good at, because I did my first 4 years with Hilton, my training with them, was in making sure that everyone did a duty manager role. So, you had to do a couple of nights a week as a duty manager where basically you're sort of thrown to the wolves and you've got to look after the hotel where everyone else disappears down the pub. And that was quite interesting.
Well, you have to come. I'm a stern believer in, if you're a restaurant manager and you've never been a waiter, which I've met these people, and I'm happy to criticize them as well. It's like when you hear F&B people that went to like catering college, hospitality management, and you actually work with people that were never waiters, never bartenders, never on the front line. You're like, you can see there's a massive disconnect between I don't understand exactly what you're emotionally going through when you're having a very busy shift and it's not going that well, and all the customers are looking you in the eye, and you can feel it.
Yeah, no, exactly.
You can feel it.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. I mean, if you're not, you've got to have done all this sort of, I think working your way up through the industry is the only way to really understand it. And, a lot of people, I didn't go to hotel school, obviously. I came in from a very bizarre sort of route. But, I had already done the sort of the waiting, the running restaurants, working, behind the bar. And for many years, 6 years, I did all that. So that was a good basis. And you also learn how to deal with people.
Yes.
So
who are lovely.
Who are lovely,
They're
especially
lovely.
around
They're
turning
lovely,
out time.
yeah.
Yeah. So
they're brilliant.
yeah. So it was. So you do get a way of managing. You learn how to manage difficult situations.
Well, the best thing about people is, and it's the reason I do genuinely have always loved this job, doing nightclubs and all different types of stuff, is that I've been in this industry since '97, so not as experienced yet as yourself, but I still can't, I do this, on my day off, and tomorrow I'm back at work, and I cannot tell you what's going to happen tomorrow. I can tell you what I need to do, and I can tell you what my job role is, but once the people turn up, the people that work for you and also the people that come through the door, suddenly the whole day can be turned on its head due to the amount of, so it's not like we don't sit at desks and process things, we don't repair things, it's very much based on, okay, we're going to set up the structure, and then once everyone comes in, they're kind of going to let us know how our day's going to go.
That's exactly right.
So it really is no 2 days of the same job.
Yeah, I know, and that's why. Yeah, I think a lot of people. I mean, you're never going to get super rich being in hospitality, that's for sure. But unless you own stuff. I know. Well, it's depressing, isn't it? No, but you know what I mean. But it's such a great. It's such a great industry.
The freedom, the creativity, and just the sheer. I don't know, the stories that we won't get into a lot of them, but the people in hospitality have got some amazing stories of what's happened.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
On shift some days.
Yeah, no. I mean, I think everyone in hospitality could write a book, and probably
they
should write a book. Yeah.
If you're going to write a book, what would the title be?
Yeah, good question. Actually, what would the title be? It would be, I don't know.
That's okay. We'll move on. I really put you on the spot now. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, it's a good question.
Everyone gets into writing books and memoirs and this and that. I do think that hospitality memoirs would be fantastic,
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask you, actually, something I've always wanted to know, which is 4-star hotels, which, if I'm not mistaken, first group of 4 stars, is that right? JA is 4 with a 5, is that
right?
No,
J is pretty much, it's got A4, but they're predominantly 5, and then just sort of, luxury.
So what are the sort of, I sort of look at the 4-star market, and I think it must be, and I'm attached to it, but I don't actually revenue manage or anything like that for it. But I look at it as something that must be very, very, very super competitive, as in the 5 stars they're going after the big money. And I always look at my experiences in 4 stars is you've got maybe part of your guest mix is 5-star clients, doing something a bit, let's say, cheaper. 3-star people that have saved up all of their money. Do you know what I mean? And then, of course, the kind of the 4-star market. Is it? Am I right or wrong? Is it?
Yeah, I mean, to a great extent, yes. I mean, I think the 5-star market in this country is very competitive because there's, you know, a lot of 5-star properties. But yeah, no, the 4-star city market is, I mean, that was a big learning curve, and that's a great thing as well about this industry. You keep learning every day. I'm learning something, you know, and which is fantastic, and that was a steep learning curve just to understand how that market works, you know, because it is very cutthroat, and there's a lot of players in you know, playing in that space. So you know, again, it's trying to differentiate yourself, and really, you know, marketing plays a huge role in that, and service delivery is what it's all about. I mean, you know, because of, you know, the online, all the various online guest satisfaction surveys that you can readily access. That's how you make a difference, because that's what everybody checks, right? And also, you know, having great, you know, sales and revenue team that know how to play the market, which is really important. So,
So 4 stars, you know.
yeah.
Tricky world.
Yeah, it is. I think, yeah, it is, definitely. Better than, and I don't know how the 3-star market does it over here at all, you know, but I think it's just about over-delivery. That's really whatever you do, you've got to over-deliver.
So out of your properties in the first group, which one's your favourite?
I would still say, yeah, the first collection, JVC.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that property. I mean, it's the first collection that we opened, which you know, so now we have 4 and we've got more coming, which is great. It's the first one that we flipped to put the Marriott brand tribute on there. So you know, which is, so again, you know, continued part of this hotel's journey, and it's a great property, and you know, and it's the first one we opened, you know, our own property. We opened Grand Heights, obviously before that, which is a hotel apartments, but it's the first sort of hotel open while I've been at the company, and and it's a great hotel, great food and beverage offerings there. You know, great service, great rooms. Yeah, we love it. It's a really good model. And it was a great model for the rest of the first collection to sort of build upon. You know, so I think we really got it right there in terms of positioning the brand, and therefore we were able to roll out the other ones relatively easily, which was good.
Because I felt like I was almost asking you, like, which one is your favourite of your kids? You know what I mean? And to segue,
well, I have 6 of those. So
I was going to say, like, I was going to do a very abrupt segue there, but yeah, you've got 6 kids.
Yeah, so a blended family. Yeah, it's great actually.
And so, I mean, you work in hospitality and you have 6 children, like.
And my wife works in hospitality.
And your wife also is incredibly successful.
Yeah, no, she's the general manager of JA Hatterford Hotel.
Yeah.
So they're out there in the mountains, and she's done an amazing job with the place. Yeah. So and she was resort hotelier of the year last year for Hotel Middle East. So yeah.
Yes, because I was at an awards show. And I think you were on the next table, and your wife won.
Yes, that's right.
Yes, and I remember coming over and saying bravo, because I was going to say, so you're obviously in hospitality, your wife's in hospitality, and you have 6 kids. You must have patience of a saint. You know what I mean?
Like, I think the kids have the patience of saints, actually. You know, I mean, because so as I say, yeah, blended family. So we have 3 grandkids as well. Mm-hmm. We're very blessed with the fact that 3 are still actually here. 3 of the kids are working here now, which is cracking.
What do you mean by blended? Sorry.
So Deborah, Deborah and I, you know, were previously married. Okay. I had 2 children by the marriage, and then Deborah had 4 children by her marriage.
Okay. Right? So I've never heard that term before.
Oh, I see. Yeah. So we became 6. So, but the kids are. I mean, right now we've got 2 at 12. Mads is going to be 24 in a couple of days' time. So then we'll have 2 at 24. We've got 2 at 26, 1 at 27 going 28, and then 1 at 30. So. Okay.
Oh, now I know how to refer to my childhood. You know,
yes, blended.
And it was very good. We were 2, 3 more turned up. We had a great time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Did you really?
We really did. Yeah. It went from, like I say, sort of, I think I was 10, my sister was 12, and then in came another 10-year-old, a 13-year-old, and a 3-year-old. And, and we many years still have good contact with each other, and it was great. So now I know what the term is.
Yeah, well, there you go. Yeah, so they've been very, they're really, I mean, they're great as a unit. They're great. So we got one down in Australia at the moment who's living an interesting life down there, and then we've got two still in the UK. One's working in for Centrepoint, the charity in London, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, doing which is a tough job to do, and then Ruby, she's a teacher in Leicester, so she's
Lovely part of the UK.
yeah. So
And so you still riding Harleys in your spare time? Or?
no, not Harleys, mate.
No?
No, KTM's.
Okay.
Yeah. So I did do a Harley. I have to be honest. Yes, I did for a while, but now, much faster pace.
Okay.
Much faster pace. Yeah. No, I love. Look, it's my passion. To be honest, it's something I did in my early 20s and late teens, early 20s.
Mm-hmm.
Then sort of kind of responsibilities and children and all those sort of good things came along. But then I think it was about 10 years ago now. I came to an agreement with Deborah that it was okay for me to get back on a bike, and and I love it.
It's the right country for it.
It is got a bit more difficult these days. Not that, of course, I don't drive within the legal limits at any point ever.
Of course,
but there are a lot of but there are a lot of cameras around, so things have got a bit more interesting, shall we say? Because sometimes you can forget. It's very easy to forget, what speed you're going at.
Well, I think they call it flipping your plate. Do you flip your plate?
No.
For people that don't know what that is, I assume, I don't have a motorbike, but I assume people remove their...
Well, they might
and
have
then
it
they
on
go
a
do
spring,
300 kilometres an hour.
So some of them have it on spring where it sort of goes up.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you actually know...
I've heard about this technique,
cool,
yes. So, shocking as it is. But, so it has got more interesting. And, of course, one of the areas we used to go to, which was sort of the borderlands and, down into Calborough and all this sort of thing, a lot of that got really badly hit during the storm in April. So, and some of that's not.
It still hasn't recovered.
Some of it hasn't recovered yet. So
that storm was next level. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I managed to write off my missus's Mini during that storm.
I wrote off my car. I had to climb out the sunroof.
Oh, really?
It's all my fault.
I went out the window actually. So yeah.
No, it's all my fault. I drove back to where I was living. I had to come back to work. I trusted SatNav. Do you know what I mean? Saw a big corner of water. I thought, it doesn't look right, but SatNav says it is. Drove into it down an industrial estate. The next thing you know, car's completely conked out. No. I'm climbing out the sunroof. I was so angry. So I've never been so, because I knew I shouldn't have done it. So I wasn't angry. It wasn't the anger that I've driven into the storm. It was the anger of, Sam, you're a freaking idiot, And then fortunately the insurance did pay out. So I was lucky with that one.
Well, I think wasn't there an instruction if you had third party insurance, then they were supposed to pay out. Or something.
Well, I think the fear was
that there's 100,000 cars.
Yeah, the government said they're paying out. Do you know what I mean? And then what I think came back from insurance companies was, if your car was stationary and you got rained on, we'll pay out. If you drove into it, and I can't go into too much detail, but if I showed you a picture of my car, it's clear I drove into it. There's no way a man parks.
You weren't going to get around that.
Yeah, there's no way a man parks there at that time in the afternoon just for giggles. You know what I mean? So, but luckily, I had 2 weeks where I thought they weren't going to pay out, and I was afraid.
Desperate.
Yeah, and then they did. So I bought a Dodge Charger.
I think everyone suddenly scaled up. Right?
Yeah, let's scale up. Yeah. So look, I mean, it's great conversation. It's great to see you again.
Yeah, you too.
It's been many years, and as I always like to ask, is there like one thing from your career, from your life that you think that an up and coming hotelier, someone in hospitality or life themselves could take from your life? If there's one statement, what do you think you could hand over? What's the one piece of gold?
I think you've just got to be passionate about the industry if you want to get into it, because it's not easy. The hours can be extremely long, as you know. I mean, in food and beverage, the hours can be ridiculous. Right? Yeah. And if you don't care about people, and you don't, and you're not passionate about serving people, then it's just not going to work. And I think you look at the UK, where they're having a real problem with getting people in the hospitality industry because people don't want to serve people. They think it's beneath them or demeans them, right? And I think, but that's what the role you're taking on, and you've got to be passionate and have a desire to do that. and care about people and making a difference to people's lives, you know. And I think, you know, we have such an extraordinary opportunity to really impact someone's life in this business, you know, for the better. And I think, you know, not to, you know, if you want to go into that business, then you've got to want to do that, because it's a great opportunity. And, you know, the more you do for other people, you do for yourself as well, right? So I think, yeah, that's what I would say, for sure.
Fantastic. David Thomson, thank you so much for coming.
I really appreciate it, mate.
And I really look forward to us laughing at Man City being relegated. Just like that.
I think it's a real possibility, isn't it?
Yeah. Good.
Yeah.
They deserve it. Because Chelsea never cheated. Of course we didn't. You know, I mean, it was all fair.
Well,
you know?
yeah, but at least you know, when they found out, they were able to change the law, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
good.
yeah. So thanks to you guys, City are going to get relegated. So there you go.
I'm happy to have contributed. You know? Thank you very much, and
No, thanks,
I wish
buddy.
you all the best, pal.
Cheers. I appreciate it.